Time. Yeah, time. Time is in the study of the elements. Time is one of the elements. There's 25, 26 elements altogether. The working senses, the legs, the arms, the knowledge acquiring senses, seeing, tasting, smelling, the sense objects, the matter, atomic matter, and then the 5 elements: fire, earth, air, water, and the 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, ego. And then time is an element. And out of all of the elements, time is more subtle than intelligence, more subtle than ego. It's an extremely subtle element. And the final element is consciousness, which is really not a material element, but is the thing that makes it all come to life, And there's 2 types of consciousness: that which is belonging to the jiva, the jivatma, the infinitesimal entity, individual, and then the supreme entity, the supreme individual, the paramatma. So one enters into every body, every living body, like an ant's body, dolphin's body, etc. And the paramatma enters into the whole universe and all those bodies as well. So until consciousness enters the universe, time doesn't even begin to tick. But time is the next most subtle element. It's considered it's also called providence or destiny or fate. That's also another name for time, because time reveals one's karma, one's destiny.
Yeah, I was reading third canto yesterday about the subject of time, and it was talking about how basically you measure time by the distance, by the sun orbiting the universe. Like, this is how time is measured. And it called it a Kala chakra, like a wheel of time. And it was really interesting. Like, it got me thinking, because it also described how each planetary system has its own Kala chakra. So each planetary system is experiencing time in a different way. So based on where you are within the universe dictates how you experience the passing of time. So in the higher planetary systems, one day is like 6 months for us. So like as you go higher, time is perceived passing differently. And I was thinking, like, us as individual persons in this body, we also have our own kind of like wheel of time. Like, we've got our own Kala chakra. Like so say if me and you were living in the same house, our kind of perception of time would kind of link up. The way we perceive reality starts to link up because we're in the same. This is, by the way, this is just speculation, but
it wasn't speculation until this bit.
Yeah, until this last bit. It's like,
go on. So we're sharing the house, or we're roommates.
Yeah.
Then we're involved in the same time cycle.
Yeah, like we're kind of like perceiving reality in a very similar way, and therefore like like our perception is similar. So I just it just got me thinking on that kind of like whoa, dude, that's far out. That kind of way of thinking about how like time is quite, the way we perceive time is quite relative,
Yeah, and that like perception of time is like when you're on holiday and when you're at work. Like remember when I went to school, it's like, and also happiness. Like if you're enjoying yourself, time is no problem. Yeah. And if you're not enjoying the situation, time goes slowly, right?
Yeah.
It becomes painful. Yeah. Say you're at work and you don't like it, you just can't wait. Or I'll tell you one good one is when I'm on a flight and they have the screens, and the screen has 4 hours left, 5 hours left. I don't want to see that. I don't want to know how much time we've got left, because I hate being on the flight. I get claustrophobic. So that's the worst experience of time for me, is when I'm on a flight, a long distance flight. because I feel trapped, and I want time to go fast. That's perception of time and how it changes. So, it's said that when Krishna is really enjoying the rasa dance, a lifetime of Brahma goes by in a flash of time. When the devotees are separated from Krishna, one moment is like 12 years.
Yeah. It's very far out because time is eternal. Like time, so like this is just stuff I was reading like yesterday. Like it's so time exists in the spiritual world, but it's not pushing any actions. Like time is what causes, basically, it like activates the karmic chain. In the material world, it activates a karmic chain. Without time, there's no karma. But in the spiritual world, it doesn't push any actions.
Well, I think it says in the spiritual world that time is conspicuous by its absence. So in Vaikuntha, it's eternal, it's the ever present. And in Vrindavan, it's the same, it's the ever present, but there appears to be a time.
Yeah.
There appears to be sunrise and sunset by appearance, but it's actually it's not really time. No, there's no time there. There's the eternal present. Time, there's no passing away of even a single moment. So it's beyond our perception, what it's like to be out of time in the eternal realm. But there's no time there, no. But there is activity. So how is that happening is beyond us.
Yeah, time is very inconceivable. Like, because we can talk about like how we measure time, but it's still not describing what time is. Like I was thinking about, okay, we measure time by how the sun goes around the universe.
Yeah.
But what is time? Because time is not connected to that. That's just a symptom of it existing,
Yeah, that's the measurement of time, but what is time?
Yeah.
Time is one moment going into another, like you go through your life cycle. So you get old. What is that verse that says, if you engage in Krishna consciousness, then the sunrise and sunset doesn't diminish your lifetime?
Yeah. Where is it? It goes.
Those who are not in Krishna consciousness, the sunset and sunrise are constantly diminishing their life.
Is it Ayur Harati Vaipung?
Ayur Harati Vaipung Sam.
It says both the rising and the setting of the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes his time in discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead.
There you go. That's a good verse.
Yeah, Sri Rama said that everyone should learn this verse this time last year.
Ayur Harati Vaipung Sam.
Yeah.
So that's interesting how discussion of the all good personality of Godhead, discussion of his pastimes, chanting Hare Krishna. Do we do that every day?
Try to.
Try to.
But
time. Remember they took them clocks up into the firmament? Do you know that experiment?
No.
So in the 1950s, the Americans, they took some kind of space vehicle and they took an atomic clock in that vehicle up to the firmament, just outside the atmosphere in space. And when they came down, the clock measured time slower than Earth time, which proves the Vedic idea that the higher up in the planets you go, time slows down.
Yeah.
Like when Lord Brahma stole the cowherd voice from Krishna, he went away for one moment of his time, but it was a year of Earth time.
Yeah, and it was in ninth canto. There's a story of like a king, and he goes up to visit Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is watching a Prajapati dance, and Lord Brahma is literally just like, one second, I'm just watching this. And then he says, what do you need? And he goes back to Earth and everyone's dead. And it's like millions of years later. Everyone he ever knew is gone just because Lord Brahma was watching someone dance, or not Prajapati, Gandharva. So, but this is something that I read again in the third canto about Lord Brahma. Like Brahma, even Lord Brahma is afraid of death because Brahma has to die. Although he lives for so long, actually, it was described in the Brahma Samhita that the whole lifetime of Brahma is less than a second for Krishna. It's just a flash. It's like less than a flash. So like the whole cycle of the entire universe is less than a second for Krishna. So even Lord Brahma is afraid of death. But Prabhupada says in the purport that he performs devotional service just in order to release himself from the clutches of illusion. So in one sense, this fear of death, because Krishna says, time I am, destroyer of the worlds, like time is death. So in one sense, the fact that Lord Brahma is afraid is an impetus for him to take up spiritual life, you know? Whereas like the materialist, they're not afraid of death. They're just merrily enjoying, and they're trying to forget death at all costs. They're trying to, you know, they're pushing it off. So like in one sense, to be aware of time's passing and that each sunrise and sunset is taken off, it slices off another fraction of your life. To be aware of that is quite healthy. It's
Yeah,
like
to know the goodness is knowledge.
yeah.
And what is that? You can, if you have billions and billions of pounds, you still can't buy back 1 second of past time. So that's time can't be controlled. It can't be bought back, or that's why we have to act but in a good way. We have to make use of our time. But you said the materialists, they want to eat, drink, and be merry. They're not thinking about tomorrow. They want to avoid thinking of death. They don't like to talk about it. But there's another type of materialist when he's on a downer. You know that T-shirt, life is rubbish, and then you die.
Yeah.
In a polite way.
Yeah.
So there are definitely people who find life miserable a lot of the time. They're depressed or they're despondent, and then they just see death coming and they think, well, what's it all about? It's just all suffering. They can't see any light in the darkness of life, you know, when they're on a downer. So it's not that all materialists are, you know, happy. When they're not happy, when they're suffering mental agonies or despondency, then they may think about these things. This is a kind of distress, right? Which is also an impetus to look for knowledge or look for spirituality.
Yeah, it's like two ends of the spectrum, isn't it? Like if you're suffering, it's like time has slowed down for you and you can't wait for death. Like if you're enjoying and happy, then you just don't even think about death and how it's coming, and you're just using all your time up. It's going by in a flash. You hear about, like, I heard about there's like some 76-year-old man who's a millionaire, and he was just begging for another few months so that he could continue with his plans for like growing a business. Like, so it's the same kind of thing. Like, so I guess one's ignorance and one's passion, right?
Yeah, one's ignorance, one's passion. And mode of goodness means I accept I'm going to die, therefore I'm going to do good activities. I'm going to prepare for my next life. I don't want to be born in animal species. I don't want to be born in a miserable place. Therefore, at least I'm going to do pious activities, good activities, help others. I'm not going to be selfish. I'm not going to exploit others. I'm not going to cause suffering to people unnecessarily or animals. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to plant trees. I'm going to protect animals. I'm going to give in charity to the poor and helpless. I'm going to serve old people. I'm going to be respectful to old people. I'm going to try to do good to society and the earth and all these things. That's mode of goodness. The transcendentalist, he's involved with serving Krishna, remembering Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna, so that he can remember Krishna at the time of death. And he's tatenu kampa manu shikshama. He's going to tolerate all the distress and happiness. He's also going to tolerate. You're not going to get carried away when he's happy. You're not going to get miserable when he's distressed. He's going to remain fixed in trying to remember Krishna. Ridvag, always praying to Krishna, offer obeisances to Krishna through thick and thin. Because Krishna says that if whatever you think about when your time's up, when you have to leave the body, yam yam vapi smaran, whatever you think about at that moment, because it's only one moment. You know, the time of death, it's a funny thing, is it's only, you might be dying for a year or 2 years, or you might die in an accident, but the actual moment the soul leaves the body, it's only one moment of time. And in that moment, if you can remember Krishna, then you're free, you're liberated from having to take birth again, or you take birth in a very good situation where you can practice Krishna consciousness. Purva.
Interesting. So if we can think, when we're thinking of Krishna, even when, like right now, if you think of Krishna, does that mean that you're beyond time in that moment, that you're actually, or if you're doing service, or
remembering Krishna is the it's the ultimate thing. Smarta vyasa tatam Vishnu. There's only one rule: never forget Krishna and always remember him. It's only one rule. That's the only rule we have to follow, actually. Everything else is a secondary or help to support that one rule. This is a very important thing, actually. And that other verse, Om Apavitrava, if you remember Krishna, you'll be pure, impure, unclean in this situation, that situation. If you remember Krishna, you're pure, pavitram. You're free. Remembering Krishna is the essence. It's the essence.
Because if you're in like an ashram environment, or you're doing sankirtan all day, or if you're constantly engaged in service, it seems like it would be quite easy to remember Krishna, or at least it seems like it would. What about if someone's like, they've got a job and a family and so many material responsibilities which are taking a lot of their attention away from that? How does someone like that kind of remember Krishna when they're supposed to be doing X, Y, or Z,
Yeah, I mean, the basis of family life is enjoyment. You have children, and you take them out to the park, and you want them to do activities and be happy. And so a lot of your time is taken up with that, because you don't say, I want you to suffer so you'll remember Krishna. You don't do that to your children. So material life means happiness, looking for happiness, and family life means that. But by your spiritual practice, you can remember Krishna, even in the workplace. If you practice daily to chant and do some Krishna consciousness, and not get carried away, and not be attached, because everyone's got their karma. You might be rich and have loads of money and bring up your children loads of money, or you might have to struggle for money. But either case, the devotee is going to remember Krishna by his effort, and by associating with devotees, he's going to remember Krishna. And sometimes you'll suffer, sometimes things will go well. And when it goes well, sometimes you see that Krishna helps you materially, helps devotees immaterially speaking, with money and opportunity and housing and comforts, because you need these things. So a lot of devotees, they get by nicely, they do all right because Krishna helps them. And then when things are going good and you feel that Krishna helped you, then you love Krishna even more. Then you're really grateful to Krishna. It's like, wow, you did. I really feel that you helped me, Krishna. Then thank you. And this is what Krishna wants. He just wants you to recognize that he's giving you your karma, but for devotees, he looks after them. He goes out of his way to do things for them, even materially speaking. That's what that verse means, that Krishna's equal to everyone. Everyone's just going to get their karma. They're just going to get the results of their activities. Everybody. But my devotee, I take special care. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. He's partial and impartial.
Yeah.
So how is it? He's impartial, he's neutral. I'm not going to get involved. You want to go to material world and act according to your own idea of happiness, go ahead. I'm not involved. You're free. And you'll get the result of your karma. But as soon as you call out to Krishna in devotional service for reconnection, then he gets involved.
How can we say like you need some money and you're stressing out about getting money together so that you can provide for your family or whatever the situation is?
Yeah.
You do that, but also because you read in the Bhagavatam, if you just surrender to Krishna, then he'll sort you out. You know what I mean? Like, how do you reconcile that? Like, how can you take a leap of faith when you've got people relying on you?
No. There's two ways of surrender. One is where you haven't got anyone relying on you, and one where you have. And when you have got people relying on you, you have to do your duty. So when you do your duty, you get out of bed, you do your rounds, and you go to work, or you do business to earn money, then you're going to get a result from that. It's guaranteed. That's the way nature works. If you actually put in effort and time to make money, you'll make money. But if you don't do anything and say, oh, Krishna, you do it, then that's a neglect of duty. It's not real surrender. It's an excuse to be I want to be a renunciate monk, but you've got to make money for your family. You can't. You've got to completely switch your mentality. So that surrender to duty, then you'll get the result. And then Krishna will also help you, and you'll get intelligence. You either get a job and you make money and you go up, you improve, or you do your own business. Krishna will show you how to make money. So that's a type of surrender as well. Not to neglect your duty, to do your duty. That's a religious duty, which is in the mode of goodness. And the surrender of a sannyasi or someone who has no obligations to family, society, that's different.
So what about like I've just left the ashram. Other people, they've gone from that no one's relying on you to the position where you're going to start looking to be relied upon, and so you want to kind of almost like build your life in such a way that you can put Krishna in the center, maybe have more time for preaching, blah 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 blah. Like, how do you kind of navigate that transition? So
with difficulty.
Yeah.
Yes. Ashram life and post ashram life, and then finding your feet in the world. It's a bit of a journey, It's a bit of a journey. But if you stick to the simple, basic things, chant your rounds, do a little bit of reading, and then use your intelligence, how you're going to work it all out. And then your own nature will come, and you'll find, it's a balance between surviving, making money, and staying Krishna conscious. The danger is when people get too much into, too far away from, they just, they dive into it away from Krishna and think it'll be good, if I just get away from it all. But that's not really good. No, you got to have a balance. I mean, there's so many dangers. It's not just one danger. There's millions of dangers, but millions of positives as well. You go for darshan, you go to programs, go to festivals, you have a nice home life, sadhana. It's all right. You work it all out. But you got to make money. You have to make money. You got to prioritize that, in one way or other. You can't be think that poverty is not good. Poverty is not good.
So I guess what I'm hearing is it's going to take a bit of trial and error.
Trial and error. Find what you like to do, and don't make too many sacrifices. Like you see a lot of people, certain type of people, they go into they're devotees, but they go into corporate life, and they're almost selling their souls for that lifestyle, for that big house, big car, big mortgage, all that's trimmings. It comes at a price. Better to live a more simple life, make less money, but just have a simple flat or a council flat and be Krishna conscious, helping others. Because once you get into the corporate world with the big money and all that, it's there's karma with all money. There's karma, really heavy karma with money. So you can't, I would advise against, selling your soul. I mean, I don't think you're going to make that world, but there's a lot of people who can, and some of them don't. They just say, right, I'm just going to do a small business and stay Krishna conscious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, that's just one comment. So yeah, you find something that you like and comfortable. Everyone can make money. Everyone can be comfortable. That's the way nature is. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. Krishna feeds the beasts in the jungle, so of course he's gonna.
Yeah, he'd look after you. Once you do your duty, then he'll reciprocate.
Nice.
So the utilization of time in Grahastha life, Brahmachari life, Vanaprastha life, Sannyas life, it's all different. They're different duties. But remembering Krishna is the essential feature of all of them.
How would you prioritize your personal time? Like someone offers you some big service opportunity, but you have to work. Like how do you personally balance it?
What do you mean? If
say someone said, come to India for a month or whatever.
Oh yeah, Guru Maharaj said, my guru phoned me up once. He said, I want you to come to India for me for 2 months. So I asked my wife. She said, yeah, go for it. No problem. So she covered my basis. If it's possible, it's possible. If it's not possible, it's not possible. If you've got a job, you got to earn money, and Guru's not gonna. No one's. If you can't do it, you can't do it. You've got to do your family duty first. But if you can wangle it and do both, no problem. It's just practical.
Okay,
practical. Cool. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, ashram devotees who've been in the ashram, the best life is a self-employed life. For ashram devotees, being in the ashram for a few years, it's very difficult to get a job and work for someone else. Be your own boss, find your own way to make money. It's the best life.
Could be more flexible then.
You got you can take a day off, go to the temple, go on books, go on Harinam. Come to London Rath Yatra. Yeah.
Right. Okay, interesting. I guess we can explore this topic a lot in the future if you're up for it as well.
Yeah.
Very broad, and you've been through it. So
I've been through it. I mean, it was hard for the first 10 years, but in that 10 years, I went to India every year. I had enough money to do that, so it wasn't that bad. Plus, for the wife, once she has child and all that, and then the security is the main thing for her. When that's threatened, then you're never going to be at peace until there's comfort and everything's paid for and there's money coming in and everything's secure, and you'll have no happiness unless you can do that.
Yeah. Luckily, things are a bit cheaper in Wales than where you are.
So
I think hopefully work it out.
Internet money is good money, Web is a good place to make money, sell things or whatever.
Okay.
So that's but some people they get a job and they like it and it's simple. See, with self-employment, there's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
With just turning up for work, you don't have to think. You just go to work. Some people prefer that. It depends what type of person you are.
Yeah. I think
whatever works.
Shudra myself. I think I'm just a simple Shudra, like just plug in, plug out, see you later.
No, you're creative. You're
Yeah,
creative. You're an artist. You're an artist. Now the artists they find making money the most difficult.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm gonna have to just clock in and clock out, and that'll be that.
Yeah, maybe you might need to.
Yeah. Well, I just applied for a job now in doing graphic design in some print shop. So
Oh, that's good.
fingers crossed. Like,
That's good. Time. What are we going to talk about? Time. One more thing we could say, on each planet, like you said, there's a different atmosphere, different cycle of time. Oh, and there's a famous verse, how the sun moves according to the order of Govinda, of Krishna. The sun moves in its orbit by the order. It's really important that time moves by the order of the Lord. Yat chaksureva savita sakala grahanam.
yeah, Rajas.
Samasta Suramurti Raseja Tejas. Yasyagya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakram. Kala Chakram, that same word. The sun moves on its orbit by the order of Govinda. What else?
I got a nice translation from the purport. It says,
Go on.
the sun is the king of all planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. It's a bit of a different translation, but
No, it's all good.
it struck me. The eye of the universe is, but it's just from that it was the universe is great, but it's fixed within the limitations of the time factor. So how incredibly vast the entire universe is, still limited by time, you know? Like time is it's just this interesting thought of how time and space are like interconnected, and without time, like there's no meaning to the space would just free, there would be no movement. You know, like they're reliant on each other. You can't have one without the other. Maybe.
Time and space.
It's definitely something to study wise.
Huh?
If you just type time on Vedabase,
It's tons.
It's so interesting, you know.
Yeah, we could. Well, you've done some research. You got any more?
Krishna's inexhaustible time. This is what he says of killers. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, "I am inexhaustible time" in the 10th chapter. And Prabhupada says, of killers, time is the ultimate killer because it kills everything. So like
Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel, time keeps on slipping into the future. It's a famous song. Time waits for no one, the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Time is on my side. Time's not on your side. Time is, we had a teacher at school who used to come into the beginning of the class, said, time is the enemy. He used to say that at the beginning of every lesson. Time is the enemy. Time and tide wait for no man. Is that Shakespeare? I think it is.
It's famous. Yeah. I don't know who said it.
So, the sword of time. Krishna, he is the sword that cuts the cycle of birth and death. Pada samsara. He is a bridge across the ocean of birth and death. How to cross it. And Krishna said, time I am. You just quoted that from Bhagavad Gita, time I am?
Yeah, Kalinashti. I can't remember.
Hello, me.
Yeah.
Time I am, and I've come to destroy the whole world.
Everyone's already death by my arrangement. Everyone's marching into the jaws of death.
Right. And we think, we act, oh yeah, that's it. Yudhisthira. What is the greatest? The Yaksha asking this question, what is the greatest?
The most wonderful thing in the world.
What is the most wonderful thing in the world? And Yudhisthira says that every day everyone's going to the court of death, but still everyone acts as if they're going to live forever. Just the other day I was sitting there and I was thinking, I remembered I had to die. I remembered about death, and it really kind of like, oh God, I forgot that, because I got so many things going on. this and that, I remembered I got to die, Very interesting it was.
I got this. Oh. 1 sec.
Time is short. That's a good one. You could use that on the street. Be a t-shirt.
Yeah, time is short. I wrote a letter to Shiva Ramaraj, like just this long letter, and he just replied to me, "Time is short. I'll reply another time." It was something like, it was just like one. He just wrote "time is short" and he just didn't reply. But that was the instruction from that letter.
Time is short. Yeah, so if we can utilize our time in hearing and chanting, it means every day we have to read Prabhupada's books, even if it's just half an hour here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes here. It's very, very, very valuable. Even when you don't feel like it, that's when it's the most valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can do that through thick and thin, because life's difficult. And on top of that, it's difficult to practice Krishna consciousness in Kali Yuga. And there's so many difficulties. But if you can just read a little bit each day and chant Hare Krishna, then your time is success, your days are success, because you remembered Krishna. So that's the prime message I think we've got to strum into our heads.
Yeah.
That we're down or if we're happy or sad, we have to read and chant. Force ourselves to read a purport. And then when we are good and we're exploring the texts, then like you do, you type in one and you can read everything that Prabhupada says about that subject. Then we can research and we'll be able to give a presentation. There you go. That's all your time quotes. Give us another one then.
I just went through some purports. So a complete solar rotation is a day and night for the demigods, and a complete solar year on Earth. So the idea the sun is going around the universe. One cycle of that is a day and night for the demigods, but on Earth it's a winter and summer cycle. I just thought that was interesting. So like so we experience one rotation as a year. They see it as a day. So obviously our planet is spinning within that. I like to try and visualize the universe because my I guess my old trippy days of like talking about these things, but yeah, I think I've pretty much covered most of the stuff that's here. Time is the force that causes the planets to orbit. I was trying to like understand like the word etymology, like categorizing thing. I was trying to like categorize what exactly time is, and basically my conclusion so far is that it's like trying to understand what Krishna is. It's like very inconceivable for the brain. You can't just put it in a box. It's like
it's extremely subtle.
But we can learn about. I found that by learning about time, by like studying it a little bit, it made me want to use my time more effectively because I'm actually more conscious of time and its passing. And
that's great.
Most purports where Prabhupada talks about time, he says that death and time are synonymous, and so like
wow.
we have to really be conscious of time and death, as devotees, because otherwise, we act like I had a lyric and I made it like a rap or something like that. Act like I'm gonna live forever, but I'm told that time is short. TikTok you can't buy a second. Plus, to life there's more than blindly scrolling on your phone. Don't you know that you can go back home? You know what I mean? People, we're just scrolling our time away like that, just watching nonsense. You know what I mean? But you can go back home, actually.
Yeah, but you have to apply yourself to the process, and it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy. That's why India is so good. You go to India, you can read 4 or 5 hours a day, and once you get into the groove,
yeah,
that's really useful to do that once every year or 2 years. I just heard Prabhupada lecture where he's talking about Hanuman. Hanuman's able to jump across from India to Sri Lanka in one leap, and he's able to lift up the mountain in the Himalayas and fly back to Lanka carrying this mountain with his trees and herbs on it. So Prabhupada says, I've seen the video when they the space rocket, they go out in the orbit, they can float and jump and carry really heavy objects because there's weightlessness. Right? There's weightlessness in outer space. It's proved. Them guys, once they leave the Earth's atmosphere, it's weightless. So this is a proof of what Hanuman was doing. Hanuman wasn't tied to the laws of gravity. It was no problem for him.
Nice.
So I think time and gravity is another law, and timeless, anti-gravity, movement of the planets in space. And then Prabhupada said in one lecture that everything's moving in the material world, constantly moving. Our blood's moving around the body. There's nothing still or peaceful except the mind of the transcendentalist fixed on Krishna.
Yeah.
Like a lamp in a windless.
That's what I thought. I was speaking to someone recently, and they said that Gauranga on our altar, they are still, and everything is moving around them. Like they're eternally there, and everything is just rotating. Everything else is moving. But yeah, that's another thing. You talk about like mastering time, and in one of these purports, Prabhupada was talking about the Trikalagya, so people who can understand past, present, and future. This is like a mystic perfection. It's the highest mystic perfection is to be fully aware of past, present, and future. But for a devotee, these things are very easy because they have the kind mercy of Krishna within their heart. So if they need to know past, present, and future, they very easily can. It's like so they don't have to strive for the mystic perfection. It's just like Prabhupada had that. If you listen to like the following Srila Prabhupads, like everyone's like, I can't believe it's like he knew what was going to happen. There's so many stories of Prabhupada understanding past, present, and future perfectly. So there, you can actually master time in some sense if you become a pure devotee.
Yeah, and that avyata kalatvam, one of the symptoms of a very advanced devotee is he doesn't waste any time. He doesn't waste one moment. He utilizes all his time in Krishna's service, chanting and hearing. And another thing is about Krishna. For him, there is no past, present, or future. There's no beginning or end or middle. He's beyond everything like that. So he's able. He sees everything everywhere at all times and all places because there is no past and future for him. So that's time and space again, like when Mother Yashoda trying to tie the rope. She's an unlimited person, so she couldn't tie the rope no matter how long the rope was. Really allowed it. Time and space. Yeah.
Nice. I think we can cut the podcast here.
Yeah, that's loads of time.
A lot of time, to be fair. It's probably the longest podcast we've ever done on Jiv Jago, but
5+5. That's an hour nearly.
Yeah, we basically did 50 minutes, I think. But that's the thing, like for one who's talking about Krishna Katha, that the sun rising and setting doesn't affect them. So we didn't spend any time really. It was
just
an eternal conversation.
So when things are down and all that, remember it's just going to pass, and it's nothing in eternal time. It's nothing. We just got to be positive. Somehow or other, find the positiveness. Okay. Remember Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribol.